All right, hey guys, Mr. Kyle Myers Mathematics, and let's just jump right back into it. This is number 19 out of 20, rounding off this worksheet in record pace here, as fast as a turtle. And I'm going to circle this equation in yellow. The other one's going to be blue, so yellow and blue make green to show you how we combine the two equations. Whether we're doing substitution or elimination, we're pretty much combining the equations in one way or another. But this worksheet specifically tells us to use substitution. So, of course, as you get towards the end of the worksheet, it seems more and more likely that we would actually probably want to do elimination and not substitution, although this one isn't set up that well for elimination either. They are all lined up, but there isn't a nice way to make the x's or the y's cancel, actually. But that's not how we're going to have to solve it anyways. The worksheet says we have to do it by substitution. So we're going to substitute one equation into the other once we solve it for either x or y. You can solve for x or for y if there isn't a visible number in front of an x or a y. Like, for instance, in the yellow equation, the x has the -5 and the y has the -8. If they don't have that number in front, if it's just a plus x or a plus y, then that's probably going to be less work. Not probably. It is going to be less work. It's going to be a one-step equation in order to solve for that particular letter rather than a two-step equation. It doesn't matter that much which one we solve for because we're going to have to deal with fractions no matter what. However, let's say I take the yellow equation, -5x minus 8y equals 17. And I solve for x. Just for simplicity, not for any real reason. Actually, if I was going to pick which one I wanted to solve for, it'd probably be to solve for the x and with the 2x. That would probably be my choice, but it really doesn't matter. So -5x is equal to, and that's 8y plus 17, or 17 plus 8y. It doesn't matter that much which way you add them, but you cannot add them. They're not like terms. You can put them together like this, but not try to add 8 and 17 or anything like that. Then we divide by -5, and that's as far as we want to go, actually, because what else would you do? 8 doesn't divide by 5, and 17 doesn't either. But we do have x solved for. X is solved for. So that's nice. Okay, well then what about in the blue equation? Well, here's the blue equation, and we have x solved for. So the x that's in the blue equation, so 2x minus 7y equals -17. We'll just copy it for a second. We can take that x here and put it here because then that's going to help us out. That's what the whole dealio is about. We're going to substitute what x is equal to. So if x is exactly the same thing as 8y plus 17 divided by -5, if x is the exact same thing as that, then we can put that in place of x. We can sub it out. Right? Just like in football, you and some other player are not the same person, but if you're roughly equivalent, you can play the same position really well, let's say. Then what we're doing is a sub out, right? You're tired, you're going to sub out. So if you're X in this scenario and you're subbing out with your friend who plays the same position as you, or rival, frenemy, whatever you call them, they are going to sub out with you. And they are way more complicated, right? They try to make things way complicated. Look at how much more complicated that is than X. I'm trying to be all complicated right here. Look at that. And that's what your friend is doing. They're subbing in, and the rest of the players stay there. Let's say you're the only one who needs to sub out. Okay, well then you still have to make the lineup, right? You still have to make that lineup. You still have to have every other player in their same spot before you can have the game go. So now here's where the blue and the yellow make the green. Okay, so then 2 times 8. It's not going to be 2 times 5. It's 2 and 5 are in separate spots. You're not going to times the 2 by the 5 also. Be really careful with that. I see people do that all the time. That's 2 or 2 over 1. So if anything, it's 1 times -5, which is -5. So that's going to just be 2 times 8 is 16. And then 2 times 17 is 34. still divided by -5, which we can get rid of in a second, okay? So it's not that big of a deal that we have that -5 there. We can do something about that -5. What we're going to do is times everything by -5, okay? Both sides of the equation, notice I put the parentheses around the whole thing. That's not a very mathematically technical thing to do. If you need to be like very precise and overly technical, I wouldn't do it exactly this way, but I like doing it this way because this is the best way to do it. Anyways, so -5 divided by -5 would cancel. Okay, I'm not timesing it, I'm dividing it, which is why it would cancel. So then I would just have 16y plus 34. And then I have to distribute, so I distributed here, and the -5's canceled. Then I distribute to here. -5 times -7 is positive 35. And then I also distribute to here. And that's -5 times -17, which is 5, 3, 8, 5. Yeah, there we go. And okay, so then 16 plus 35. This is the trade-off, and I think it's a good trade-off, but this is the trade-off. When you are dealing with fractions, if you get rid of them, you make all the other numbers bigger also. So you're dealing with slightly bigger numbers, but I would rather deal with slightly bigger numbers than have to deal with fractions. And I think most people would agree with me. If you're not one of those people, then keep the fractions. As long as you're getting the right answer, hey, who cares? But if you're not getting the right answer, then why don't you try something else and see if something else works? Okay, so then that's going to be 51, and that's 34, and that's equal to 85. And then we're going to subtract the 34 from both sides. If I subtract 34 from 85, 5 minus 4 is 1. 8 minus 3 is 5. Oh, look at that. So if I divide 51 on both sides, I get y is equal to 1. Okay, then I want to figure out what x is equal to. So x is equal to 8y, right? Y is 1, so I'm substituting y in right here, plus 17 over -5. All right, so 8 times 1 is 8. 8 plus 17 is 25, divided by -5, and I get -5. So at this point, you are technically done. However, I always like to make sure I have the right answer. Maybe you're a little paranoid like me sometimes, and you agree, and maybe you're like, why do I need to check? I always get the answer right. If you always got the answer right, you wouldn't be here. So let's be honest with yourselves. You're here because you are having trouble. So it's good to check, and it doesn't take that long, especially if you have a calculator. If you have a calculator, you can just type this all in. 2 times x minus 7 times y. I'm using this other equation. I just used the yellow. Now I'm back to using the blue, although I wrote it in green. Sorry, not sorry. So that way I can know that I have the right answer, because look at that. And that didn't take that long. That really didn't take that long. That was like, what, like 2 steps? And I didn't have to solve anything. I'm just trying to prove that I got the answers right. And this is a fantastic way to do it. Just take the x and the y, plug it back into the other equation. So I solved for x last. I got it by plugging it into the yellow equation. So then I come back to the blue equation to double check. Right? And that's always how that works. So now we know for sure that we have the right answer. X is supposed to be -5 and y is supposed to be 1. So awesome. Yeah. And that's it. So, if you have anything for me, let me know in the comments. Or if you want to go check out some of my stuff on my website, myersmathematics.com. Link will be in the description below, as well as just some content that's on there, like the 5 math mistakes everyone makes and how to avoid them. Long title, working on it. That's on my website as well. Helpful little PDF guide. So go check it out, and I'll catch you in another video real soon. Blessings, y'all.